Good evening, everybody. It is the live Monica Makes It Happen Facebook show, and one of the most important stories we've covered here on Pix 11 News, especially right here on Facebook, was the crisis of lead in public housing and private housing in New York State, not just in New York City, but all across the state. And can you believe in this day and time, so many children are poisoned by lead? And this is the lead that we're talking about specifically is in the walls of apartments, lead paint. We focused on so many families, but you want to talk to her. You want to ask her questions. Her name is Tiesha Jones. I feel like I don't have to introduce you anymore. She fought NYCHA and she won a $57 million settlement, but it was more than fighting them for that. It was about changing the laws and making sure that families are protected across the state. And she did it in the name of her daughter, Dakota. It is called Dakota's Law. Thank you, Ms. Jones, for joining us tonight. You are a community champion to the 10th degree. And you're just someone that so many of us can relate to when we are fighting a system that we feel is broken, and you won. Can you tell me, I know you were always driven by your daughter and what happened to her. Before we even start, we know she was poisoned by lead when she was a young girl. Now she's in the 11th grade. So many years later, you've won the settlement. You have passed Dakota's Law in her name. How is Dakota doing?
Dakota, she's doing well. She's doing very well. She's taking up coding now in high school, so that seems to be one of her interests that she likes to do. You know, she's really innovative in what's happening moving forward in society with you know, the internet and cybersecurity and things of that nature. So it's a good look for her. It keeps her busy.
Well, but tell us the story. You were living in NYCHA, and you moms always know something's wrong with your child. Tell me a little bit about those telltale signs that everyone should be looking for.
Well, I noticed that a lot of things that she was taught as a child, because a mother is always their child's first teacher, and those things she started to regress in. So, like, she knew how to tie a shoe, then she didn't know how to tie a shoe anymore, and certain letters she couldn't recognize that she already knew in the alphabet. Um, Certain behaviors like drooling, and at 4 years old you're not teething anymore, so there shouldn't be a reason for a child to drool. Like, some days she couldn't even get out the bed, like her body had locked on her, like, and I was couldn't understand, like, why is this happening? I had a healthy pregnancy. I made all my prenatal appointments, so I couldn't understand, like, what was the issue. So I ended up changing physicians, and this physician wanted to start everything new. And she took her own tests, and she has been tested. She was tested in the past at 1 and 2 years old, as what was mandated in state at that time. And those lead tests came out okay. And at 4 years old, when we changed physicians and they took their tests, that's when she had the 45 level of lead. And I was extremely scared because I didn't know what lead was, what it was going to do to my child. I didn't know if she was going to live or die. It was just chaotic at that time.
Yeah, and we're going to connect with the CDC so that people will know exactly what the health effects of lead exposure are. There it is. We'll make sure that everyone gets, not just what it causes, but the effects of lead exposure, from damage to the brain and nervous system. It's incredibly serious. Any exposure to lead is not good for especially children under 6. And that's why you fought so hard for this new legislation that is now law, thanks to you. And of course, Senator Gustavo Rivera, we have to give him props as well. But I guess what kept you going, fighting a system like NYCHA? And it was back and forth for so many years, but you never gave up. What kept you going?
Well, the simple fact that they tried to patronize me when we went in there, and I can speak about this now. We had a mediation, and first, before the mediation, I was trying to get assistance, and I was trying to reach out to my councilman at that time, different senators. Senator Gustavo had just came into office at that time, and I had reached out to a public advocate, And I don't know who it was at that time. And they told me, well, why would you want to sue? You could just live in NYCHA rent free and for the rest of your life. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? The same place that that damaged my daughter? So then, we went through litigation and we had a mediation, and they said, well, we'll offer you $5,000. And I'm like, are you kidding me? $5,000. So I got up and I walked out. And then they called me back in and they was like, you know what? Did you get on the train yet? And I said, I did not. And they said, well, could you come back? Like, we have another offer for you. And I said, okay. And then I came back and they said, well, we'll give you $350,000. And I'm like, are you serious? And they said, yes. And I said, you know what? I'm going to walk away. You know why? Because I live how I live now. I was on public assistance. I was going to get my undergraduate degree. So I knew eventually I would be out of the situation that I was in, So I said, it makes me no difference whether or not, because I'm still going to elevate regardless, but somebody's going to take accountability, and we're going to see this all the way through to the end. And it took 10 years. And
10 years. And again, watching Dakota go through this, and it's heartbreaking to think about what you went through and how strong you were. And that's what I guess keeps me going whenever the going gets tough, is your story. Just an incredible amount of courage that you have. And I want everyone at home to meet Dakota. Here is her story.
She's sick as a mother.
I'm mortified.
Tiesha Jones made headlines after the Bronx mom sued NYCHA for elevated levels of lead found in her daughter Dakota's blood. She was eventually awarded $57 million.
It's like we're the city's forgotten.
Pix 11 News covered Jones's story and other families struggling with the effects of lead exposure in children, especially in NYCHA. Lead exposure can cause brain damage and delay mental development. How's Dakota doing?
Dakota's doing very well.
Jones says it was always her mission to help others with her story. She teamed up with Senator Gustavo Rivera to write Dakota's law. Now, Governor Hochul signed it into law last week.
I wanted to protect all of the children in New York State, as well as I want my daughter to be protected as well.
It is huge. The fact is that it creates a standard for the entire state. The impact that lead can have on the development of a child can actually impact the rest of their lives.
This new law requires lead screenings at every routine primary health care visit or annually for children under the age of 6 years old. Healthcare practitioners will also have to provide parents or guardians of children with guidance on lead poisoning prevention. And it requires pre-kindergarten and kindergarten institutions to check if their students have been screened for lead exposure and provide them with lead poisoning information. What's your message to other moms?
Never give up.
Jones says her daughter Dakota inspires her every day to keep fighting for families. Dakota is now in the 11th grade. Jones works for the city and helps underserved families get resources from healthcare to housing, and now has political ambitions.
Here to serve the community. Maybe one day I could be the first woman mayor of New York City.
You're gonna be right here when you announce your campaign. We're so excited about that. But everybody who's commented, we have so many comments, Giselle, Nicole, Sam, Diana, everybody who is watching, specifically saying they're glad to hear that Dakota's okay. But there's a lot of comments about not understanding why this wasn't law already.
Understanding from my research, that's why this law came about. Because I'm like, this is ridiculous. There's no protection for the children here. And, I now sit on a New York State lead advisory council. And I also, Dr. Markowitz from the lead clinic at Montefiore Hospital, he also sits on that council. And I sit there as a parent advocate to still fight so that we can bring more awareness. Like they need to have awareness when you go to sign up for social services. They need to have awareness at the schools. They need to have awareness where you live, private and public institutions. People need to be aware of what to look for lead. It's like a silent killer.
Nicole 89 says she hopes all the money, you deserve all the money again. And Sam says, hopefully you're going to open a nonprofit. You're already doing this. You're going to run for office. You're on advisory boards. Diana Rodriguez says NYCHA apartments need to be tested for asbestos and lead more frequently. Kevin Williams says, I hope this child is doing all right. And Kevin, we're hearing great things. She's hopefully going to college after this. And we have to say also, Nikki is saying, good for that mom fighting till she got justice and reform for her child, and that you never gave up. Your story is incredible. What do you want to tell, not especially moms who are watching right now, who may be fighting a system, not NYCHA, but any system, and they feel that it's hopeless and that they can't keep going? What do you want to tell them direct?
Well, first, I want you to know who serves you. You guys vote. Even if you don't vote, these people are voted in, and they are there to help people of the community. Find out who your council member is. Find out who your senator is. Find out who your assemblyman is. Find out who the public advocate is, and reach out to these individuals, because they are there to assist you, and they have the knowledge of some things that you might not be aware of.
Joining us now. Elle, what are people saying?
I saw a really interesting question coming in from Sheila Silvagnoli, who said that she's really interested in Dakota's law because she has lived in New York for 7 years, and her own daughter's lead levels were through the roof after she got tested. Knowing that this law has been signed by Governor Kathy Hochul, Sheila wants to know, is the testing mandate just for NYCHA residents or for anybody that lives in the state of New York?
Anyone that lives in the state of New York that has children under the age of 6.
And she also, just a follow-up, asked, when you go to your regular health department for screenings, or when you go to a doctor for screenings, are lead tests something that you have to ask for, or that comes as part of a standard panel of health work?
Well, as the child is 12 months or 24 months, it's standard. This law will bring it in that you have the screening, you let them know what's going on in your apartment, what's going on with your child, and from there on, they will do the lead testing, and then you can see what the results are and what steps you need to take.
If there's one thing you want parents watching to remember and to take home with them and to execute right away, what would that be?
Be mindful of your children. You know, if you had a good delivery and your child was pretty healthy and you're noticing some things that are off, follow up on it, and don't allow anyone to tell you what to do with your child or what they think. They don't live with your children every day. You do. And you know the effects of what your child might be going through and changes that they are experiencing, and just stick to it. And if someone says, any physician says, like, listen here, we're not going to do it, tell them to document it in your child's chart. That'll change the situation a lot faster.
Love that idea, because sometimes I say, oh, don't worry about it. And then, oh, well, why don't you, we're going to write that down in the file. And then all of a sudden that you can get the test that you wanted, right? Yeah. But it's, when I hear your story, and I've been following you for so many years now, seeing you as a mom evolve, it's changed your daughter's life, but it's also changed yours, right?
A lot, absolutely. I fight more for different causes, like some people, they would just think about themselves in this situation, like, oh, let me get out of here, I got what I needed to get. But I thought about other children, like, how could you sit back and protect yours and then forget about someone else's? We're all a community. We're doing this together.
That's what a lot of people told me on my Facebook page, that they're amazed that, again, you won the settlement and now Dakota's law, that isn't it time to, like, let's say, enjoy your family? No, you're not doing that. You are continuing to fight, and you want to take on office, a political office, and you want to continue to fight for other families.
Absolutely. I want to make New York better again. We need to be more innovative, and it's a lot of changes that are moving quickly and rapidly, and I feel New York City is behind, and I want to get us to that mark where we need to be.
Melissa says she wants to know, where did you find an attorney? You made sure you got an attorney as well. You fought in a court of law.
It's a funny story. I actually, back then we had yellow pages, right? And we had a book that they used to bring. So I opened up the book of the attorneys, and I found the ones that were like with lead, and I really just was like, you know what? God point me in the right direction, and He definitely did, and I found the right one.
And the yellow pages and randomly picked an attorney, and that's just incredible. It is incredible, your journey. But again, it's not just about the attorney, it's about you, and it's about a mom that's making it happen for not just her family but her community. And that's why, if you don't mind, we'd like to have you back here to give us updates on how Dakota's doing, but also now that the law is passed, that the two other bills that also are being introduced about insurance and about more regulations to keep owners accountable, because again, we know it's the building owners that have to be held accountable for these things. And then also your run for public office, running for New York City mayor. So we have a lot to talk about next, and I hope everyone at home makes sure. Thank you again, Ms. Jones, for joining us. And I hope everyone watches us every night at 4, 5, 6, and 10. We were honored to have Ms. Jones on our show, but it is community champions like her. Those are the stories that we want to tell. And hopefully, if you need more information, the CDC information, or anything about lead, it'll be right here. Share this with anyone you think that will benefit, any parents that have children in public housing and private buildings. You know we're making it happen. Good night.